Welcome, audience. This is take 2 of episode 10, because our other one had a problem. It's the 4th of July. Yay, 4th of July.
Yay.
We're staying home because it's really hot out, and I don't like big crowds. And
Yeah, we don't like big crowds. Also, like everywhere else in the U.S., our town is very progressive and has to have drag queens and rainbows and hopefully not grown men with their junk hanging out. But, you know, we're probably headed that direction. We live in Liberalville, Alaska, so...
Liberalville.
Yeah.
That's a good name for it. We should change the name.
In fact, the other day, I just found out that our city does... Hey, you shush. We're talking. Our city does Drag Queen Story Hour. I only found that out because I was driving past the library and a very large man in a wig and high heels and more makeup than the Joker, yes, I know, I already said this on Twitter, was out front with a bunch of moms and little kids.
And they were all happy to have him it there.
I'm a stand-up.
Bunch of crazy psycho people who are exposing their children to gender dysphoria. That's what they're just exposing their children to. Because, you know, it's probably not just a drag queen. Drag queen's been co-opted by the transsexual movement, you know? Because they used to just be men who were dressing up as women. Which, when you understand that that's all it was kind of funny and entertaining. But now that it's like somebody who has these really weird ideas about their own sexuality and believes it, then it's not as fun.
It's still disturbing.
It was never fun. It was never great, but now it's much worse.
It still disturbs me. When I was really little, my parents watched Mrs. Doubtfire, and apparently I burst into tears.
You tell that story all the time.
Yeah, because it's a good example. Children instinctively know that these things are off and wrong, but parents are forcing their children to get used to it. How many little babies do you suppose burst into tears when their moms walk up to a man in fake eyelashes and demon horns?
I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that it's about equivalent to the amount of children who burst into tears on Santa's lap.
Yeah?
What do you think?
Which, by the way, I'm also against forcing your children to sit on a strange man in a costume's lap.
Oh, Santa's garbage. Why would you put your child on a strange man's lap? That's so gross. What's wrong with people? I feel like we're diverging. We're digressing. That's the word. But I digress. Let's move on to this first story, which is about Miley Cyrus and how not great she is.
Yeah, so the other day, it was just a snippet, and I just planned to barely touch on it. But, hey, why are you so fussy? But apparently she had some concert and decided to wrap things up by going on a classy rant about the environment and how the United States isn't doing enough to protect gay people. Oh, sorry, the LGBTQIAP movement. You better wrap this up a little bit.
I have a direct quote from her. I'm going to say it now, so everyone knows how amazing she is.
Oh, okay.
It says, all of y'all know how important it is for you to be involved in politics. The youth, this generation, we are the last effing hope on this dying effing planet. I don't like there's... that doesn't make sense.
Well, it's Miley Cyrus. Of course it doesn't make sense.
I don't like there's more effing trash in the water than living effing animals that deserve to be there, that have nowhere else to go. Wah. So that wah was me, by the way. Unquote.
Yeah. So, but what I started to do is I started to write a little short article because I kind of went down a rabbit hole into left field. But what I wrote was that I wonder if Miley Cyrus has yet to go down the beaches of California and start picking up used needles, you know?
Yeah,
and I wonder,
she's not doing her part to clean up.
I wonder if any of her millennial fans... what is that there?
That's our audio cutting out, so this episode is going to be kind of janky. Hopefully my processor catches up and we get instead of janky sound.
Well, I think
we're going to keep going because I don't care.
Okay, well, you'll understand why then. Which took me into, I wonder if anybody's giving up their iPhones or their electric cars in order to preserve the environment. Because, of course, we are still told electric cars are the best thing for the environment. Never mind how the batteries are made, how often you said that they need to be replaced. I didn't know how often they had to be replaced.
I think it's 10 to 12 years for electric car batteries, and they cost $20,000. That's the stupid part.
And then don't you have to... Isn't it very expensive to dispose of them?
Yeah, it's like hazardous materials, so you have to dispose of them in a specific way, or they pollute the environment, even though you already did that, but buying them... Yeah, it's a downward spiral nobody talks about.
I'll walk around with
And
her
the
for a
baby's
second.
crying again.
I can't do much about it.
It's true. So, let's move on. That was...
But
You have more
we're
to
going
say?
to talk about the mines in Alaska and why we have to import all of this instead of actually mining within the United States.
Why do we have to import all that from
That's
China?
the question.
That is the question. You're right. What did I say? I'm pretty sure I had a good reason for that the other day.
Well, so apparently... Can you hear me? Am I being picked up?
Yeah, I think you're good.
Okay, so the other day when I got on this thread, I started looking into, okay, well, where are we mining this from? And what is involved? Well, aren't there mines in Alaska that have these? And there are tons of mines. People down south have this idea of Alaska, I think, that it's really cold still. People who've been on cruise ships, probably don't quite have that opinion as much. It's pretty hot here right now.
You would think bringing over 1 million people to where we are through cruise ships in Alaska every year ought to kind of change the public opinion, but it still seems like you run into people who are like, "Oh, do you live in an igloo?
Yeah.
You eat muktuk for breakfast this morning?"
Yes, we're not native Alaskans.
That's absurd.
But, so I had an interaction with a woman a while ago on Twitter who was like, I'm trying to figure out where you live based off your tweets. I'm like, I live in a rainforest. Oh, okay, it must be pretty cold there, huh? I said, no. No, it gets really warm in the summer sometimes.
It's like 80 degrees for the past 4 or 5 days right now.
But people, they also think that all the animals are endangered. There was this idiocy surrounding wolves on Prince of Wales a while ago, which you told me that apparently the wolves, outnumber the people 2 to 1?
Something like that. The problem was that they tried to get they tried to get a new classification put in place for the type of wolf that lived there. So it had its own name, which would effectively make them endangered because they would only live on this one island.
A little subspecies?
Yeah, it's hardly even that. It's like a color variation of the exact same animal. But also, even if it did get a new designation, it would still be way too populous. In fact, my mom was just telling me that they have a wolf problem now. There was she actually told me stories of wolves walking through town. People spotted them right in town.
Yeah, which I've told you the story of when I was a kid and my sister and I went cross-country skiing up in the Muskeg, and only to come face to face with a wolf who was licking its chops basically at our dog. So we decided, okay, we're going to go somewhere else. And we went miles away, back to our house, down the beach, up into a different muskeg, and ran into another wolf.
Or was it a different one?
Well, that's the thing, is later my dad went hunting, or, getting wood, whichever, in the middle of winter, and he saw these wolf prints had followed us a long way.
Fantastic.
Yeah. So anyway, all that to get back to, I know we digress. I hope I'm actually picking up.
You're good.
All that to say that there are a lot of misconceptions about Alaska, what's endangered. And, well, yes, we do get a little bit of smog off the cruise ships, and right now we currently have forest fires up north, which have been turning our sky orange. We are incredibly blessed with clean water, clean air, more trees than you could possibly count. We are not in danger of turning into mega city whatever.
Mega City 1.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, Judge Dredd. Yeah,
Mega
City
we are
1.
in no danger. It would take more money than we're in debt with in the United States, and more time than we have, probably remaining in the planet to get rid of all the trees and build it over with dystopian skyscrapers.
Yeah, and people are always campaigning to save the environment up in Alaska, which they don't really realize how big Alaska is, because if you look at a map and then you look at the concentrated centers of population, all you have to do is go over that mountain, and there is no one. There's literally no one for miles and miles and miles and miles. It's totally devoid of humans. You might come across a little tiny little pocket of like 10 people who live way out there and spend a ton of money to live away from everyone. That's it. That's all the more people you're going to find.
Which you and I both grew up more isolated than we are now, and we really don't like it. We live in a suburb.
Yeah.
With neighbors right next to us in a small city.
Yeah, it's a tiny little city we live in, and we still feel like it's too full of people.
Yeah, we don't like it. We grew up with a lot of space. All that to get back to, there's a lot of untapped resources in Alaska. A while back, our governor, Dunleavy, said something to the effect of, Alaska is the warehouse of the United States. And some environmentalists just flipped their lids. And the fact is that we didn't actually start the list, but if Alaska wanted to secede from the Union, we have almost the makings to be our own country. We'd have trouble with like fresh produce and stuff. We'd have to trade, but we have a lot to offer in the way of trade.
I think the hardest thing, if we're really talking about a hypothetical, the hardest thing would be the infrastructure to make all the resources available and actually useful for us to export and sell to other countries to get a gross domestic product.
Because there's so few people in Alaska for the size we are.
Right. And we have enough people to get a lot of the resources, but in order to turn it into useful goods or even transport it, we have to contract out to people from outside. But still, we have a ton of resource, and I'm convinced that the vast majority of it is untapped, even though we're already tapping into pretty fat resources with our oil.
Yeah.
Yeah, and south of here, there's actually a mine that has the potential to compete with the Chinese lithium battery mines, and that's one of our biggest untapped resources right now. Is the potential in that mine, but it's wrapped up in red tape and EPA regulations and DEC regulations, and it's been like years and years and years they've been talking about it and they haven't made any headway. It's really sad.
Which, when I started looking into this the other day, I found out that there are two bills, I think, that were just proposed. One by Lisa Murkowski, of all people.
We love her.
Ugh, rhino. To I think either protect or do something with a lot of the resources in Alaska. And what's funny about that, I didn't get a chance to finish reading the one that Lisa Murkowski proposed. And I don't know, so don't judge me if I come back to be wrong, but I highly doubt that she's actually proposing we do anything with our mines, because she's firmly planted in the pocket of native interest groups and fishermen, both of whom notoriously hate anything that isn't fishing, or hunting.
Yeah.
Because it might endanger their precious salmon streams.
Yeah, and to be fair, the salmon have been reduced greatly. You can talk to any old timer, and they'll tell you about how there used to just be thousands and thousands of salmon in almost every stream you walked up on.
Right.
It was just absurd how plentiful it was, and now it's like none.
Wasn't it you who told me there was a study out that completely disproved it being the fault of...
I haven't heard that. I'm pretty sure it is the fault of overfishing, but we have plans in place for that.
Overfishing.
Yeah.
No, I'm sure it is. But...
environmental problems?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
I doubt it's that.
I have close relatives who've actually worked for two sitting governors. Wait. The sitting governor? Sitting governors? Which one's correct? They have worked for two different governors. Not the current one, but previous administrations. And one of my relations actually worked in constituent relations, and she got so many emails and phone calls from people down south who know nothing about Alaska, but think that they're going to teach some elementary school kids lessons on how the wolves and the polar bears are dying, and the polar bears are going to all start to drown because the ice caps are melting. And, oh, for goodness sake. It's sad because there's a whole generation of kids being brought up to think that because mommy and daddy put fuel in the car, or bought them burgers at McDonald's, a polar bear is having to swim home.
Oh, yeah.
Never mind the fact that, man, didn't I show you an article recently was talking about a study whereby seals, they have to do something in particular in order to survive under the ice? To swim in the cold or something?
Yeah, there was some absurd claim about that article to do with the seals, but...
Well, I think the gist of it was that, and it wasn't what the article was getting at, but I looked at that and I said, so you're telling me is that the water warming up wouldn't be a bad idea?
Oh, yeah, they actually can't give birth in the water? Is that how it went?
No.
I don't recall.
Okay, we're going to sound super dumb now, but...
Yeah, I don't remember.
It was months ago I saw this, and I forgot to write it down. But anyway, all that to say, it's very irritating when we look at the current state of trade and things down south in the Paris Climate Accord, and we look out the window, and we are living in basically an untouched paradise. Yeah, we're in a city, but I don't think many people down south from an actual city would look at this and think it was.
No. They'd think, we need to preserve it, therefore we're not going to sell any of the land to any people who want to live there.
Yes.
Because too many people. Well, you know what? This place is so inhospitable that I think there's a limit to how many people who would come to buy land and build, because your land's going to be in the muskeg or on a hillside or out in the mountains.
Well, it's very expensive to build. It's
really spendy. It's just not a concern. The population around here is not a concern.
The homeless population
overuse of resources is only a concern if we get extraordinarily more big corporations coming in to do the work, and it's going to be a while before that becomes too much of a problem. And at that point, the economy is going to be booming, and that'll be a great thing. And then we can clamp down on them, you know. Right. But yeah, it's an untapped resource. That's the best way to say it, I think.
But for right now, our state is not doing so great. We're being held in a chokehold by teachers' unions.
Everybody is in a chokehold by teachers' unions. They're kind of a virile type of group. I think they're a thorn in the side of every administration.
Right. But let's put to rest one myth right now that irritated everyone a few years ago when Mark Zuckerberg came to do some little tour of Alaska and cut open some fish and look folksy. We do not get a monthly allowance from the government. We get a payout at the end of the year based off the money that is made through drilling, because oil companies lease the area in which they drill.
That's mostly true.
Mostly true? What did I get wrong?
I don't think the money comes from the payout from them leasing the land. The money comes from a large amount of shares that our state has invested in with them. So we own shares in their company, and when the oil company makes extraordinary amounts of money off of us, our shares are worth more, and the state government pays the people here based on how much those shares are worth.
Right. Well, regardless,
basically we're making money off of them making money off of us. So the better they do on our land, the better we are, and the citizens get paid a little chunk of that.
Yeah.
It's a small chunk compared to the billions and billions and billions they make. You know what I mean? Well, and because it's based on stock, it's based on the stock payout from 5 years ago. That's why it dips and dives out of sync with the current economy.
Of course, our last governor decided that he was going to dip into that,
too. Oh, he co-opted it twice, didn't he?
I think so.
Yeah.
In order to fill some holes left in the budget.
Yeah. Anyway, Zuckerberg claimed it was a great
example of socialism.
Yeah, a great iteration of universal income.
Basic income.
Universal basic income. Everybody gets this thing. You know what? It's usually only like $1,000 a year.
Yeah.
That's about what it's averaged out been, and it has been less. And it's kind of absurd to think that $1,000 a year is a universal basic income.
Yeah.
people get more than that in their Christmas bonus every year.
Yeah.
You know, you can't even
pay mortgage.
You can go wash the neighbor's windows for a couple of weeks and pick up an extra $1,000 a year. It's not like this huge boost. Now that's per person, so people with 10 people in their family, that's a giant chunk of cash at a certain time of the year. But if you have 10 children and you live in Alaska, you're buying a lot of really expensive food for your 10 children because it's Alaska.
Yeah.
It equals out, I think.
Yes. So there was something else I wanted to touch on too. 5 minutes ago before we got into PFD, and I can't remember.
Zuckerberg. Do you think Zuckerberg actually cut open a fish himself, or he had some stooge that...
I don't know. I don't even know if he did.
Boots?
I just saw a picture of him on a little open skiff.
Really?
I think so. This
That's
was
funny.
2 years ago?
Yeah, I remember when it happened. He was actually in Homer at some highfalutin lodge up there. I'm sure it's considered 5-star and has all the amenities and blah, blah, blah.
Right. Well... regardless, so it's easy to get really irritated when people are talking about Alaska elsewhere in the United States, because sometimes people forget about Alaska. I saw an article recently, and one of the comments was like, "Oh yeah, I forgot about Alaska." And I saw an article, it might have been the same article, that someone was talking about how Alaska is becoming the crime capital of the U.S. per capita.
Oh, I hate those per capita numbers. I mean, if you have a village of 2 people, say you have a village of 3 people, and one of them commits a crime, that means 30% of your population are murderers. Right? If one person kills someone, and there's only 3 people in your village...
Isn't that more than 30%?
No, it's 1 out of 3 is 30%. 33.3333%. Okay. That means a third of your whole population is a murderer.
Right.
And per capita, you have the most murderers of any place in the world. You know what I mean? Per capita is dumb.
To be clear, the crime is increasing in Alaska because of a little bill that people commonly call catch and release.
That's such a stupid idea.
Yeah.
Keep the prisons free and just release all these petty criminals.
Offenders.
Yeah. So you can just run through people's houses and ransack them. And as long as you don't do bodily harm to anyone, they might put you in the drunk tank for a night, but then they just let you go because
non-violent.
Yeah.
Yeah. So where we live, very frequently we have a Facebook group for just general concerns, etc. And every few days, somebody says, "Hey, so watch your kids. I found a needle at the playground."
Oh yeah.
And
I found in my travels, I found a crack pipe or a meth pipe right outside my where my office is at. And I also found a needle outside a business that I work for. So, yeah, right. They're around for sure.
And every few days, somebody either has a car broken into, stolen. Somebody had their house broken into while they were home. So, yay!
Well, yeah, the general agreement is that it never used to be quite like that. I was thinking for a while, I thought maybe it's just because people are on Facebook and they start reporting it.
No, there are people who've been here a long time.
Yeah, most people who have been here forever and are in the town and have really know a lot of people, they all agree that it's getting worse. So I have to kind of agree with them.
Yeah, you don't leave your car unlocked.
Yeah. I can't use my old opinions based solely upon the fact that I just don't know a lot of people. And I haven't been here that long.
It's funny because I come from a very, very small town, and I wouldn't leave the doors unlocked there either because right shortly after I moved away, my parents said my uncle had someone break into his truck and for some reason set off a fire extinguisher. Yeah. And a while back, my mom left the car unlocked, and she was rooting around under the seats, and she found a marijuana pipe that somebody apparently, "Oh, this car's unlocked. I'll come in here and I'll smoke."
I found a marijuana pipe in my work vehicle.
I found one on a trail.
Wow,
people. Yeah.
They were out in the woods. That's fine.
Well, they'd left their baggie of marijuana too.
Oh.
Which it's legal here.
You smoke that up?
So, yay.
You didn't take a few puffs and.
No.
No?
People can do what they want at home. It's unfortunate they're doing that around their kids, but you smell it everywhere in the summer now.
It is. And I would say that people can do that if they want out in the woods too, but probably should get off the trail where tons of people are walking.
Yeah.
Because people got to walk through that cloud and we don't want to.
Quite aside from that, it's just... Yeah, it's... it really turns your stomach, especially when
find someone else in the woods. Actually, better yet, find a big skunk cabbage patch and do it in there, because then when people walk by, they won't know the difference.
They'll wonder why you're standing in a skunk cabbage.
No, but that's true. But they won't wonder about the smell. They'll just say, "Oh, it smells like skunk cabbage." Of course it smells like skunk cabbage there.
Sure. Now if they're not eaten by bugs. The bugs are kind of going crazy.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So to circle back around, I propose to you the idea of, since it's 4th of July,
that we gain our independence from the United States. Is that what you're coming to?
Yeah. I was saying, if America descends into civil war and Alaska decides to secede from the Union, would you have your loyalty to Alaska or to Washington?
Oh, right. You wanted my fresh take on this, right?
Well, we talk about things multiple times before we actually talk here.
Well, it depends on what either or are standing for. But I suspect that if Alaska is ardently against Washington, then Washington has A, tried to take our guns, B, tried to force us all to vaccinate, or do some medical thing we don't want to do, which are the same thing, but...
Or tried to just turn us into a tourist-only state.
Yeah, C, tried to, save the entire state by making the entire thing a game preserve, which means nobody gets any new land, and all you can do is, go view some totem poles and pay exorbitant funds for that. You know, if Washington were to take steps against all those, I suspect Alaska would be quite angry, provided that we're slowly turning blue around here. You know we are, which is really sad.
What's annoying is that there are so many people who come from California to Alaska. And you might think I'm exaggerating, but I have worked with so many people who came from California. And I've only... No offense, Californians. But I've only liked one person. Because he was really, really chilled out and we could laugh at each other. Everyone else was a bitchy girl.
A bitchy girl? Well, like a literal girl, or just like a girly man?
You know? No, I worked with this one girl. Her dream job was to work at Planned Parenthood. Oh. And I'm not kidding. She said that. And I looked her up years later.
Did she work at Planned Parenthood?
Yeah, she worked at Planned Parenthood.
And how many abortions did she have that just went great?
Oh, she told one of our other coworkers that she had 3 abortions.
No, there it is. She's a murderer.
And she was a total whore, too. And I'm not just saying that. So it was a very small town that I grew up in, and everybody knew everybody, and everybody talked about everybody, and were there 2 bars? I think there were 2 bars at the time. But
there's at least one, that's all I know about.
Okay, but the one popular bar, she was there all the time getting drunk, and she slept around a lot while she was there. So, anyway, I don't have a lot of respect for women from California. I'm sorry.
Oh, man. We're going to get letters. Actually, we're not, because we don't have enough fans.
I wouldn't mind getting a little hate.
Come on, fans. Come on, people who hate us. Write us. Spread the word. Tell everybody how much you hate us.
We've talked about how it's really irritating. Some people... I've never talked to someone who didn't actually say that it irritates them when people come from California to, quote, help us and to build trails and find water. And I'm going to go work for the Forest Service.
Yeah, I don't know what it is about the Forest Service, but they recruit hard out of California and Oregon.
Yeah.
And they all come up with their unshaved armpits, the women.
And they buy extra tusks.
And they buy extra
so
tusks
they look like they fit in.
Yeah, that's what you do around here. And they summit all their trails and eat a lot of granola, and they build a trail for the summer, and then they go back.
A trail that almost nobody uses.
Yeah, trails out in the middle of nowhere. People use them, but it's pretty sparse. You're almost just as good walking right through the woods without a trail.
They go out on our old logging roads and they dig a ditch so you can't drive up them anymore.
To be fair, those aren't imported workers. Those people live here.
Not always.
I've never heard of them importing the fresh-faced collegiate from California that wants to save the environment to come up and dig water bars out of roads.
No, I'm pretty sure that the Petersburg Forest Service, they just go out there and find water sources and just dig it out.
Well, yes, but that's not the new people. Those are the established Forest Service peoples.
Maybe.
That's something they do.
Regardless, the Forest Service has way too many employees.
Yeah, well, it's like every other government division. They always have too many people.
Bloated.
Yeah, and that's why the economy is doing great. So I can't say that, but that's why certain parts of the economy don't get the money they should get, because it's being diverted in other places by people who have a better pleading case, like save the environment.
You want to really, really piss people off and say our problem with teachers?
Not particularly.
No? Okay.
Everybody loves their teachers. I don't know why.
Right.
I'm against college in general, so...
Well, I'm just talking about the fact that teachers get 3 months off a year.
Well, they do that.
Yeah, and so of course you're going to make less than the average full-time employee.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean...
They get 3 months of paid vacation. They already get 3 months of paid vacation.
Do they actually get paid for those 3 months?
I don't know. I don't know. I can't say that with certainty. Yeah. Never mind.
So regardless, I mean, if you take 3 months off a year, you can expect to make a little less.
You can also expect to just find another job for the summer.
Yeah, that is also why the pay gap is a myth, because women take time off for maternity leave.
We are going so deep on this podcast. We've gone everywhere.
Anyway, so to circle back around, I think Alaska should become its own country, and we can sell oil, and we can sell timber, and we can open fur farms again. Wait, are all the fur farms shut down?
I have never heard of a fur farm that's in operation right now. Okay. So
there was a fur farm years and years ago when my dad was a kid, where I grew up. So
I think that,
and fish.
With that, we should attempt to annex British Columbia and Yukon and Northwest Territories.
Yeah, that's likely.
Granted, we're gonna have to allow a lot of marijuana, although we already have a lot, but a lot more because it's British Columbia. They're kind of infamous for it. Ugh. But that way, we'd have all the waterways in our own country, right? Because we don't really. It's difficult to get to Alaska. You go through Canada. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So if we own British Columbia and the coastline as part of our country, then we'd be set. We'd have the whole western seaboard north of Washington.
You know what irritates me? I told you this earlier. I was scrolling through cartoons on Washington Times because they're great. If you haven't checked them out, there's some real gems in there. But one of them irritated me. It was showing a map making fun of Ocasio-Cortez's Green New Deal ideas with how to get rid of flight. And it shows you a map, and up there in the corner is Alaska, like they always do. They completely cut off Southeast Alaska. Like they assumed it was part of Canada or something.
Yeah. That's because it is. It's right there. You can almost see Canada from here, you know. It's only like, I don't know, 6 miles that way.
Uh-huh. Over lots of mountains.
It's true. If you go north of here, you really can see it. Just like, you can see part of it. Just the border's real thin there.
Well, regardless, I think if things really go south with Antifa, which, regardless, I think we should build a wall around California and just leave them for like 5 years, maybe less, and then fly a drone over and see how they're doing in a few years.
Like the movie Escape from LA.
I was thinking Doomsday.
Or Doomsday. Wow, similar concept. Escape from LA, you know, they wall off LA and just turn it into a prison colony.
Well, in Doomsday, you remember they go in there to see what's going on, and everybody's turned kind of Mad Max.
Yeah. And then we can build a sweet car and move to California and just do the Mad Max thing.
No.
Yeah.
Who wants to live in California?
Well, it would be a giant wasteland at that point.
It was 85 degrees here the other day, and I was dying. I told you, I was sitting in the car in the shade, getting a coffee, and I looked at the gauge, and it was 85, and I was just melting.
Holy cow. I didn't realize it got
I was
that
ready
hot
to do ghetto air conditioner with like the bag of ice and the fan.
Yeah. I wonder how cool your car would get just by having a big bucket of ice in it.
I don't know, but I might start doing that for grocery shopping. The AC is out in our car. Never thought we would need it in Southeast Alaska, but...
I think they should build a road out to the glacier and allow us to take chunks of it for air conditioning purposes.
The glacier is melting.
Well, yes, of course, but hopefully we can get some of it and have it melt in our cars to cool us down.
Yeah. Which gets us to another thing, is people crying and wringing their hands about the glacier. Yes, the glacier is beautiful, and people come to see it. But it hasn't always been there. The Earth is not static, people.
Well, it's been there as long as people have been able to come to see it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, well, I'm just a little about environmentalists. So years and years ago, to just keep wandering along with our gripes.
Just ride that train.
There is last time I was out there, it might have moved, but last time I was out there was a shrine to a black wolf called Romeo that people just loved because he was so friendly and he would come out to play with their dogs. He didn't want to eat their dogs, mind.
Sure
he just wanted to be friendly.
Wonder what he did want to eat.
And didn't he just get shot by some random hunter?
Yeah, I forget the situation there, but it was just a rando. Wasn't any just random person took him out.
Which, yes, I'm sure he was a beautiful animal, but come on, people. I mean, wolves are not friendly, and if they are friendly, be very, very suspicious.
Oh, wolves are scary. They're like. Everybody's scared of bears, but I'm much more scared of wolves because they're smart and fast.
Yeah.
Bears are fast, but wolves are faster and smarter.
Bears are kind of cowardly.
They are. They're skittish things.
So I grew up. You were on Bear Central for a while growing up.
Yeah, we lived there for like 9 years. The highest bear population and highest brown bear population in the world.
Didn't you say you got stuck in church one day?
Yeah, there was a bear right next to the church, big one, 7 or 8 feet tall, lumbering right next to the window during church service.
And a few years ago here, actually, a kid's birthday party got broken into because a bear was climbing on the roof and he fell through the skylight.
Oh, did I show you that after the podcast?
Okay.
Anybody listening should look up a little gif about a bear falling off a roof onto a trampoline. It's so funny.
But wasn't it the same year that it climbed on top of like a tourist shop downtown and they...
Yeah, there was one on a roof downtown. Yeah, they're just big giant pests.
Basically, you got to be really careful about your trash. We have forgotten a couple years in a row to put our can in the basement in time, and I've had to pick up trash.
Yep, every year one wanders through and throws diapers everywhere. And we're out there picking it up 2 in the morning. Good for, well, not really, because there's a bear out there at 2 in the morning.
But we get it the next day, and then we're really grumpy about it. And we put our can in the basement.
Yeah, until wintertime.
Yeah, but I was going to say something about... so years and years ago, on the topic of wolves being really scary, my dad set up a game camera because some bears got in a scuffle in our backyard, and one of them deceased the other one. So, I don't think my dad hauled the carcass away. They're pretty heavy when they're dead.
Wolves?
No, bears.
Oh.
Did I say
bears are heavy when they're alive, too.
Right, but when it's dead, like, you need multiple guys.
Absolutely. They weigh several hundred pounds.
Yeah, and this was way up in the woods, roots, trees, everything. So it got left there. And my dad noticed that the body was being messed with. And this was right behind our house. So he set up some game cameras. And I kid you not, you could see eyes. And you saw the brush rustling. It was like Jurassic Park or something. You did not see the wolves at all. It was freaky. And they'd try luring our dog down to the beach. That's what we think happened to our first dog we left.
You think it got chowed?
Yeah, our first dog that we had. We went to a family member's house for Thanksgiving, and that dog was a coward. And she had a house, she had a house that was up on the porch she stayed in. She wasn't outside in the cold. Don't freak out, people. She had her own little house, but she was not a smart dog. And we think she ran off and got killed, and we never found her body. The second dog we had was a lot smarter.
Would that be considered a Scooby snack?
Oh, come on. So our second dog was a lot smarter, and one night there were these shadows running back and forth on the beach just outside the light of our windows. Like, they stayed just out of the light, like down on the beach. And our dog, she would run just to the edge of the yard, bark, and run back. And she was freaked out and quivering. And they would come up and try and lure her down and then dash back down. So she spent the night in our living room instead of her house. So,
yeah, if you see a bear, you just go out and put your arms up and go, "Oh, bear!" And they go, "Oh crap, what is that thing?" And they turn around and run away.
Unless it's a mother.
Well, yeah, if it's a sow with cubs, then you got to be a little more tactile. You got to use different tactics with a sow, but any rando bear, they're pretty wimpy. They're cowardly. They run away if you scare them, and they're not hard to scare either. You just got to make a funny sound that they never heard before, and they get all skittish and run away. Well, but wolves, imagine the smartest dog you've met. Everyone's met a smart dog. Now turn that dog into a giant dog and make it an apex predator with other really smart dogs that hang out with it. Yeah. And they're smart enough to like communicate how to like kill things together. That's what wolves are. They're real scary.
Yeah, wolves are not fun. Well, it's funny about bears. So here in town, I don't know about elsewhere in Alaska, our trash trucks have a picture of a bear and a can that says, store your trash safely, keep bears alive. And before I met you, I went out on a date with this guy who worked for the trash pickup company, and he told me that he'd pack a gun with him because he had opened a can before.
And found a bear?
One of the really big, heavy metal ones. He'd opened it, and there was a bear in there. So...
That's pretty funny.
He also told me he once found a can of bear spray that got compacted in the back in the wind. It was not a fun day for anybody who was around. But yeah, so wildlife in Alaska, we live right next to it, and we don't necessarily we don't have what's the word I'm looking for? We respect it from a distance, but we aren't all googly about preserving it if it's a problem.
Yeah, because we have no illusions about how much there is.
Yeah.
If you kill a wolf, there's 10,000 more right behind it. Or more. There's so many. It doesn't matter. You're not going to decimate the wolf population by killing the ones in town to make sure they're safe.
Haven't the wolves...
The same with the bears.
On Prince of Wales been decimating the deer population?
Yeah, they have in the past. I don't know what the state of it is now. In fact, I saw like 18 or 20 deer just the other day driving through there. So it's, I don't know. I can't tell you what the population of the deer is doing. But yeah, in the past it's been a problem. And in fact, that's what my mom was actually mentioning, that it's been a problem for the deer population. But they won't just have open season on wolves.
I feel like I just heard a thing in the news maybe last year about how they're trying to get some hunting going on wolves.
Well, that would be great to actually knock that population down. I'd much rather have a big deer population than a big wolf population. Yeah. One's delicious and one is not. Well, guess which one's delicious.
Yeah. Well, my dad knows exactly where a den is. Well, I'd say not far from where I grew up. Several miles from where I grew up, up in several different muskegs, there's a den. And he set up game cameras one time just to track them. But,
maybe he could get a puppy.
Oh.
Yay, a little wolf. Wouldn't that be fun?
Hey, if you get him young enough, that'd be cool. They'd have to be really stinking young, though.
Yeah, they'd have to be like newborn. So you can imprint on them so they don't kill your friends.
Yeah.
Wow, we digressed far.
Yeah, well, I think this is one of our better episodes, though, because we're
good
really
reminiscences
confident
about our past and our environment.
So, let's get into how much of this can we blame on California, since aren't we under the 9th district?
What, the weather? Well, they're the ones polluting the world.
I'm talking about all our stupid environmental policies.
Well, it does seem like an awful lot. Well, here's the problem. Alaska's only been a state since 1959. Mm-hmm. That's only like 60 years.
There's a reason we're called the last territory.
Right. The last frontier.
Are we called the last... we're people joke that we're still a territory.
Do they?
Yeah.
Well, then they should joke about Hawaii, too, because they became a state after us.
Yes, but they are treated more like a state.
It's true. Hawaii gets all the cred. That's because they produce pineapples.
People remember that Hawaii is a state all the time. I've seen videos of people going, oh, wait, Alaska's part of Canada, right? I bet Russia kicks themselves sometimes that they sold us.
I am guilty of saying A in my speech quite frequently.
A? Yeah.
It's a problem.
It's easy to get into.
It's a problem I'm working on.
We're too close to Canada. When I was a kid, not so much now, but when I worked in coffee shops, I got so many Canadian coins.
Oh, yeah.
And you just don't even notice.
And now nobody takes them, which is real obnoxious. It used to be equal exchange for coins. The nickels and dimes and quarters. You can come in with a handful of Canadian quarters, any business in town, it wouldn't matter. But now, if they notice, they won't want them because the banks won't even take them. Anyway,
Really?
you distracted me. So Alaska's only been a state for like 60 years, which opens the door for I might make a grand statement here that is incorrect, but it seems like most people aren't from here. I'm from here, and you're from here. Well, you weren't even born here. But a lot of people aren't from here, even to this day. There's a lot of people who are, people who have been here for 50 years, born here, they're 50 years old now. But there's so many people who just come in. It's not populous enough to really have a super established population that's been here generations. There's no such thing as a multi-generational family in Alaska. It only goes back to like 1922 most of the time, at the latest, at the most. It's not like Great Britain or Europe where you have these families who have lived in one place for 400 years or whatever. It only goes back 60 years. Therefore, it opens the way for a lot of people to ingress from other places. And since it's beautiful, environmentalists. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's a big shining bastion, a big lighthouse that brings in all the flies, the environmentalist flies.
Yeah. Well, so when I was a kid, years and years and years ago, a really young kid, the Greenpeace ship showed up in my town.
Oh, that's such garbage.
They came
I know
to
what you're
save our trees. And they left a bunch of junk on this logging road. They left their tarps, literal crap, I think, and chains. They chained up the equipment. And when they left, actually, my dad was on a boat at the time. He was doing some work on a fisherman's boat. And he heard the chatter between all the fishing boats out there, like, how much do you suppose that sucker burns?
Oh, yeah, I know, all the oil. Is it Greenpeace? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, the Sierra Club comes through town once a year with their yacht, their big fancy yacht that all those poor, deluded, confused, indoctrinated collegiates paid money for, and their parents, because they're a bunch of boneheads, mm-hmm. They put money to the Sierra Club to save the environment, and all these executives with their expensive suits and their really spendy yacht, they come through town and talk about the environment and how we need more of your money so we can buy another yacht.
That's exactly what people living in a small...
misappropriated funds.
That's exactly what people living in a small town want. A bunch of rich kids from California coming to lecture them about their emissions.
Yeah, a bunch of hobnobbers from Ivy League schools come and tell us that we're doing something wrong even though we're just trying to survive. To
be fair, there are environmentalists in Alaska who are imported and grow up there. But even the small towns have these city councils. Like, there's an island south of here.
You're going to have to clarify what island if you want me to know if it's south or
north. Okay, Kupernoff.
It's south of here.
Yeah, Kupernoff Island it's much bigger than the town next to it. It's technically its own city, but it got annexed into the borough.
Yeah.
And they fought it tooth and nail because they had to pay taxes for crap they're not receiving. They're completely cut off. They don't receive mail on Kupernoff. You have to go to town, to Petersburg, to get a post office box. You do not receive anything from the police department or the fire station. The city of Kupernoff, as it is, with quotes, has its, they're in charge of fires themselves. They have a little city council and they get together and they talk about things. And unfortunately, there are greenies who live over there who have just made life quite miserable for some people.
Well, that's just a small town politics thing, unfortunately.
Yeah, well,
it affects us deeply because we're from small towns, but it's not. It happens all the time. Hey, those people next door aren't paying us anything. What if we expand our border and annex them? Then they have to pay us something, whether they like it or not. It's a really common thing, I think.
Well, that was years ago. So you know what's funny now? They're spending too much money. They don't have enough money for all the crap they want to do. So now they're talking about doing away with the senior citizen discount.
Oh, you told me that.
Yeah.
Just so goofy. Nobody's done that, it seems like.
And the people who are talking about that are millennials I grew up with, who came back with useless college degrees and couldn't get jobs.
Let's just get all the old people to pay more.
Yeah. And what's funny about that, so a few people have written in the local paper that, it's perfectly optional. If you don't want to pay, or if you want to pay the tax, go ahead and pay the tax. But you can't take it away from people like that.
Yeah.
And it's all just a matter of they're overspending, and, they don't know what to do about it.
Well, it's just like what you just said is similar on a national scale. If you want to pay more taxes, they're not going to say no if you want to donate money to paying off. In fact, there is a way to go on the U.S. government's official web pages and help pay the national debt. You can donate $5 if you want to the national debt. You can help pay it off.
They won't catch Bernie Sanders
people
doing
don't
that.
do it. No,
people have suggested that to him. He's like, well, I'm just going with what's acceptable right now. I'm just following the rules right now.
I've only got 2 mansions. I need 3 because of A, B, and C reasons.
It's really unfortunate. I can't see his face now without hearing Crowder's voice.
I know. Crowder, he does pretty good screechy impersonation of Bernie Sanders.
Yeah.
It's funny.
So anyway, this turned into a strange side thing.
We talked about small town politics and local wildlife and how much we hate environmentalists and how dumb they are.
Yeah.
We've gone through the gambit.
Was there anything we missed? You better check your notes.
Well, we haven't talked about my notes hardly at all. There's only one thing on here.
We were going to talk about the presidential candidates.
Yeah, I wrote down some humorous things about the new candidates because they're all so dumb. Well, we were talking recently about the 2 debates, and I only caught like a moment.
I watched them.
I didn't watch them, but I caught clips here and there, specifically clips of Elizabeth Warren and how emphatic and emotional and she wants to keep talking over the mic even though the moderator said she can't, and these issues are really important, and she's so really
it's laughable that people
come on, just use a little bit of decorum, and you don't have to get emotional. That's not going to help me vote for you. Well, your
that's exactly
particular
why
issue is going to help me vote for you if
only
I agree
liberal
with it.
Women and soy boys would vote for someone like that, because that's exactly the reason most people don't want a female president, is that they're afraid she'll make emotional decisions.
Absolutely. You think that Trump literally is going to be just flying off the handle and being emotional and then slamming his big,
that's what people think, because that's how they feel.
Fat, meaty finger on that red nuclear button on his desk.
Well, I've never thought about it that way, but that's exactly
everybody thinks
why liberals think that, because that's how they feel.
That's true. They're projecting their own personal emotionalism onto our president, which the dude didn't get to be a billionaire by being emotional and making snap decisions. He has advisors. And he's probably very logical, and he sits and listens to those people, and he weighs the costs and blah, blah, blah. I think if Elizabeth Warren had a nuclear button, she'd just get really mad and smash it every time somebody insulted her or whatever.
Well, AOC definitely would.
Oh, well, she's not,
Yeah, thank goodness she'll never get anywhere near the presidency. But no, in mind of that, I saw a cartoon on my personal Twitter thread today from somebody who clearly hates Trump and doesn't think with the part of the brain that counts. And it was a cartoon of Trump going, "Wah, I want a parade." I was just thinking, you do realize that everywhere in the nation is holding a 4th of July parade. Trump's just happens to be extra awesome, right? But and then I thought, it's no wonder liberals are freaked out at the idea of the parade that I have heard Trump is throwing. At this point, that I'm not sure if it's happened yet or if it went through the way they were talking about with tanks on roofs and stuff like that. It's no wonder, because if they think Trump's a dictator, they probably think that he's just flexing on all of them right now.
Trump's not a dictator?
No.
Oh, I thought he was.
No.
I thought he was very mean and evil. And orange.
No, Putin is.
He's orange?
No, apparently he's a dictator. That was something we talked about the other day, and I somehow I stumbled across some Russian television stuff, which
Like RT?
No, it was
Actual RT?
I think it was called Russian Insider, but it was funny. Like, it was all when Putin put somebody in their place, which, yeah, I know some people hate Putin, but whatever. He's pretty funny when he just lays things out how they are. There was like this long compilation of all the times Putin just kind of smacked down Megyn Kelly in a really polite way. And then one of them was like some American reporter that's like, why are you leaning into the, bad stereotypes about America? Why aren't you setting the record straight? Why aren't you defending us? Like, because y'all are dumb. Obviously, that's not what he said, but it was basically that effect. It's like, you guys have your own problems, and instead of taking responsibility for them, you're blaming my nation.
Russia. Yeah. The Russians did it. The Russians are coming. The Russians are coming.
Which never mind that Obama went over to Israel and went door to door trying to keep what's his name, Netanyahu, from being reelected. I mean, your feelings on Israel aside, whatever, that's clearly interference. So why was that okay? And the Russians buying some ads for Black Lives Matter, by the way, is not.
Did they do that?
I'm pretty sure that came out and they hushed it up, that they in fact bought ads on both sides.
What's dumb is because if it's the Russians, in humongous air quotes, it could just be it could be a Black Lives Matter supporter in Russia on his computer at home, and the IP address would say Russians with giant air quotes.
So that's one of the funny things too in the compilation with Megyn Kelly. She's like, so there are Russian fingerprints on this. They're Russian fingerprints. And she's got this super annoying smirk on her face all the time. I always thought she was annoying. But he said, what are these fingerprints you're talking about? Do you know how easy it is to get a... he was talking about the technology and everything. He was just talking about a VPN, basically, that will say, hey, this person's in Russia.
Oh, I can rig up a VPN right now that's just I'm in Russia, probably.
Yeah, it probably sounded super scary and like a threat to her or the liberals, but he's like, you have a 3-year-old. Your 3-year-old daughter could be hacking right now and say that she's in Russia.
Yeah.
We know.
She just turns that VPN on and suddenly it looks like she's in Russia.
Yeah.
She gets mom's credit card. Just goes hog wild buying Antifa ads and there you go. Russian hackers.
How did we get here?
I don't know. You keep digressing my topics.
We were talking about the campaign and 4th of July and why everybody's freaking out that Trump's just a big meanie poo-poo face. Yeah,
everyone says that. Orange man bad, remember?
Mm-hmm.
Orange man bad. And I really like the NPC meme. I wish it hadn't vanished. It still exists somewhere, but it's kind of quiet.
It's showing up here and there, but not as much.
It's my favorite one. It makes so much sense.
Did it get banned from Twitter as hate speech?
Oh, probably. I don't know. I should get on there and just spam it and see what happens. See if I can get myself banned.
They'll probably get me banned too, because we have the same accounts logged in.
Oh my word. See if I can get you banned. Should I even write these notes or should I just throw them out the window?
No.
I can open that window there.
No, read the notes.
Huck them out.
Hey, this is not my fault. You kept the conversation going.
You are a distraction to this podcast. You're going to cry about it?
Yeah.
You're going to get all emotional?
I'm going to go get some cheesecake.
Oh my word. I'm going to read through these funny notes that I wrote and see how much comedy I can come up with.
Okay.
Here's Dan writing comedy down.
Oh.
I can ad-lib comedy now and again, but I've never written much down.
What, is this from the cartoon or did you...
No, this is me, because this is what I've seen. So I wrote some notes on the candidates. I think they're stupid, most of the candidates. I wrote Beto, the gun ban guy. It's the title I gave them. And taglines sometimes. His tagline is, look at me gesticulating.
Is he? I thought that Swalwell was the guy who just wants to, take all the guns.
Is it?
Yeah, he's the guy who said, we're going to be bold without the bold. No, Beto's the guy who went to Mexico to campaign.
Oh, yeah, campaign in other countries. Gillibrand, the gay rights chick. Believe women. That's like her whole thing. I'm a woman. I'm gonna help women. Yay, gay pride.
No. How did she think that looked good?
I don't know. It's so ad hoc. Just totally off the cuff.
Mm-hmm.
Biden, the make the United States good like it used to be in the past guy.
but not Make America Great.
No. So dumb. Elizabeth Warren, the emotional woman card.
It really puts you in mind of that Go Remy song, People Will Die.
Yeah, exactly. Just inflate everything to its maximum. What's that called? There's a logical argument designation for that. It's called something absurdum.
Not coming to me.
Anyway, it's when you take things to the extreme in order to use it as a means of conveying your logical argument.
I'm pretty sure Swalwell is
that's the gun ban guy.
Yeah, it's the guy who just wants to take everyone's guns. It'll start as a gun buyback, I believe, but then just take them all.
Yeah, it's such a stupid idea. As if you can get all the guns out of the population. Anybody who has guns has ones that you don't know about as well. And they're not giving those up.
No.
You might get some from good-meaning citizens, but you're not going to get them all.
Well,
There's still going to be a ton of them, and they're going to be traded. And what it's really going to do is start up an underground market, black market. Like, because in Alaska, I know for certain that you're going to be able to like find little pockets of people who are willing to buy and sell and trade still, in spite of any sort of legislation.
Yeah, and be better about it than a certain gun shop that has been shutting down for 5 years.
Yeah, we won't talk about them. They're dumb.
I'm pretty sure they're actually a secret pot shop.
We don't need to be a secret now. You get a business license for that.
It was secret back then.
I got Bernie, the free college, rich people are bad guy.
Did you hear that during the debate, he basically spelled out, look, yes, I'm going to raise middle class taxes. You'll pay more initially, but then you'll get free stuff that you're actually paying for.
Please. It's always the middle class that gets stuck.
Yeah.
I mean, the rich are great at not paying taxes. I won't argue that, but they also have smart accountant people who figure out all the rules that they can obey in order to not pay taxes. So more power to them. I can't hire one of those guys myself, and also I don't have enough money to make it go around. Kamala Harris is the vote for me because I'm a black woman.
Now, I have a bone to pick about that.
Voting for black women?
No. Voting for her because she's African American?
Oh, yeah, we did talk about that.
And I disagree with Amazing Lucas. He got a little miffed at Donald Trump Jr. for even saying anything about it. But I think it's maybe not valid in the way that they were going about it, but at what point do you draw a line? Because are we just going to assume that anybody with a dark skin tone is owed, let's say, reparations because black skin tone, when in fact she's Indian and Jamaican?
Well, there's black people in Jamaica.
Okay.
So she's
she's
dark on dark.
But she's not an African American. She was born in America.
Well, that's been a politically correct term for all black people for a long time.
And it bothers me too because most of the people who are black in America are not from Africa. They're from America. So why are we still continuing to call them African American?
Their father's father is from Africa.
We don't call you Swiss American. We don't call me Norwegian American. Maybe I should start going by Norwegian American.
Way to out that we're white. Sheesh, all these people listening probably thought we were black the whole time.
But you know what I mean? Although I will tell you, I'm thinking of identifying as a Valkyrie.
I'd like to identify as a very cute snapping turtle from Fiji.
What are your pronouns?
I'd like people to call me snapping turtle. Anytime a pronoun comes up, they need to say snapping turtle. I'm going to make it hard for them. So they have to say 2 words. It's going to be brilliant.
Okay. From now on, I'm Valkyrie, and you are snapping turtle.
Oh.
This sounds like an Indian name, doesn't it?
Snapping turtle. That's bad and funny at the same time. Okay, let's move on. Andrew Yang. This is the universal income guy. Everyone gets money. That's his tagline.
So I was going to mention him earlier when we were talking about the PFD. Did he use the PFD as an example of universal basic income?
I hadn't heard that, but probably.
I mean, what do they think? We live off $1 a week in Alaska?
You know what? The only way, if he wants to pay everyone out the same way, then he's going to have to take everyone's money and buy like 50% of stock in Amazon and then just redirect all that money into a huge fund where everyone gets money from Amazon.
Well, and I told you this.
You're talking about socialism.
Like an hour ago, during the debate, the moderator said, "So this is what you want to do, and this is how much it's going to cost per year. How are you going to pay for that?" And he goes, "Excuse me?" Like, either he's dumb, or
he's really smart,
or he was trying to buy himself time to answer the question. But surely you would have expected that question, like,
if that's your platform.
Yeah.
You should have been expecting it.
And then we come to...
It's called Buttigieg.
Okay.
That's how you pronounce his name, Buttigieg.
But when you look at it, you see butt guy.
Here, I'm... You had to say it, didn't you? You had to. I'm going to write it out so you can pronounce it correctly.
So somebody, it might have been Amazing Lucas again, maybe not, but somebody that we watch frequently went on this whole thing about how we cannot have a president with the word butt in his name. You'd never be able to take him seriously. And then you told me...
Buttigieg.
Then you told me... and worse than that, a gay guy with the name butt in his...
Yes.
But then you told me that apparently in Maltese it means...
Lord of Poultry.
Which...
That's Lord of Poultry.
If you stretch it just a little bit, what is a male chicken? What do people call a male chicken?
I didn't even think that.
It just gets worse and worse.
Boy, you followed that rabbit trail when I said that, didn't you?
Yes.
I didn't even think of that. It's good, though.
So, yeah. And this guy's, like... I can't take his face seriously. It's the same with Kristen Gillibrand. She sounds like Christine Blasey Ford when she talks a little bit. And I can't take a woman seriously who sounds like that.
Like super condescending, like you're my great aunt.
Like maybe slightly Valley Girlish, and like I was a cheerleader in high school, and everybody likes me because I'm super sweet, but I talk bad behind your back.
And Buttigieg just got kind of a rat face.
Well, I don't really recall what he looks like, actually.
Yeah, he's got kind of a rat face.
Oh, so...
Aside from that... Sorry.
You had something to say?
No, aside from that, I can't remember what my biggest problem with him was during the debates. I remember there was one, so I'm not just being an alphabet people phobe.
I just have a problem with, hey, I'm gay, vote for me because I'm gay.
Didn't he...
Look at me, I'm gay.
Didn't he make a big deal out of kissing his partner in his ad or something?
Yeah, that's like the only major thing I have against him. I don't know anything about him, but if you're utilizing your sexuality as a platform, shame on you. That has no bearing whatsoever on national policy.
Yeah.
Like,
well, so in light of that, to get back to more local politics, we were talking the other day about... So we were talking earlier about how it saddens us that our state is slowly being peppered with Democrats and liberals.
Blue dots everywhere.
Yeah, after the 2016 election, a random construction truck here in town got graffitied with F Trump.
Oh, yeah.
No political stickers, just a random truck.
So did a sign. Granted, it was a Trump sign.
Yeah, those all got defaced.
That got tagged.
One of our neighbors...
I don't recall if those ones out in the industrial section got tagged or not.
I don't know. Those have security cameras poking at them, I think.
That's true. Yeah, it's kind of a high security.
And a lot of people got tires slashed.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, super tolerant. But aside from that, the other day I was slightly encouraged. Because, like I said, we live in Liberalville, Alaska. But... apparently last year, somebody went out and graffitied the roads in the middle of the night. And yes, it is vandalism when you're not allowed to do it. They painted a bunch of rainbows. It got painted over, but this year they decided they're going to actually do it for real. And they didn't want to use state money so that people's taxes didn't have to pay for it, so they're doing a GoFundMe, which, if you're going to do something stupid, fine.
Also, how much can a bunch of rainbow paint...
Apparently quite a lot, because they want to pay for upkeep.
Masking tape costs. It can't cost that much.
Because they got to hire a professional to do it.
Oh, brother.
Anyway.
Can't be that hard.
I was encouraged by the fact that 90% of the comments were just, oh, come on, just enough already. And I only saw a couple people like, I didn't know how hateful our town was until I looked at these comments. And quite aside from all of that, like... even if our tax dollars are not paying for this, it still seems as though the city itself is endorsing a sexuality. So what are we going to start having, a furry crosswalk, or would that fall under LGBT?
I don't know where they fall.
So people started recommending, like, okay, well, if you're going to do this, then in a couple years, we're going to push for a Black Rifles Matter crosswalk.
It'd be funny.
We're going to start pushing for a Confederate flag crosswalk, because you can't say no, you'll get sued.
It'd be funny if if the city was like, yeah, you can do that. We're in need of a crosswalk way out north where the buses park.
Oh, they're not going to do that. They're going to put it right in the middle of downtown.
In the middle of nowhere, out the road. That's where they're allowed to have it.
And so apparently where we live actually does have a high lesbian population.
Well,
I've
sure
heard
gay
this
people as well.
Yeah. But apparently we have a gay bar. I did not know that until the other day when I saw an article about how they're going to make it even more gay. They're going to paint a giant rainbow on the door so nobody's in doubt. And it's just, I guess we'll know where it's at now.
Well, it's a great way to notify people who want to go to a bar. But
don't go to that bar.
Yeah, but not that one. There's a rainbow on the door. Don't go in there.
Yeah.
If you want. If you're a dude looking for a woman, don't go in there. How's that?
Yeah. Which, I told you when I was working at the state, there were a couple of trainees who worked there. Uh-huh. And I always thought, am I going to run to this person in the bathroom? Like, I wasn't worried about it. Like, whatever. The bathrooms had stalls.
Yeah.
They were really nice. I wasn't afraid of this trainee or anything, but I was just like, this is going to be awkward if I run into you in the bathroom, because you're obviously a dude.
Yeah, no kidding.
But it never happened. But what's funny is that one time I was making coffee for this guy. Obviously a guy. He wore turtlenecks, but he still had a big old Adam's apple. And this other woman, this other state employee, and she said I don't know what the conversation was, but she said him, referring to the trainee, and I could see the just steam coming out of the ears.
Did he go, "It's ma'am"?
No.
It's ma'am.
No, he handled it well. He just took his coffee and he said goodbye to me. But I didn't say anything. I was referred to him by his chosen name. I did not use pronouns. So.
Not snapping turtle.
No.
Oh, bummer.
Maybe you should get a t-shirt made like Hunter Avalon's toucan sexuality. Get snapping turtle sexuality.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
ST, snapping turtle.
So was there anything else we wanted to talk about?
No, I think that's...
I feel like we could just keep going and going.
There's other things on the list, but I'm closing the notebook now because we're at an hour and 12 minutes.
Well, maybe we should listen to this really carefully while we play a game for the backlog, which are we renaming it to... Video Gaming ADD?
I think that's a better name. I'm going to confuse anybody who's been following us, but I'll make an announcement on Twitter. Follow us on Twitter. That way you'll get announcements, and you'll get announcements for new episodes, and you'll find out what we're doing with our new plans for a new website, possibly.
Yeah, and if anyone's confused by the different tones in tweets, it's because we both use that Twitter. I tend to say meaner things.
I'm the nice one.
But I will start labeling things from me, Mrs. Hinterland, so there's no confusion. So.
There you go.
But we need to play a video game because you went out of town for work for a week, and our Xbox died, and our computer died, and all I had was the PS4.
I'm surprised the hot water here didn't ignite and shoot through the wall. And
well, you know what? It was not a fun week.
Oh my word! I'm gonna come back to this place and the house is gonna be down there in the ditch because of some calamity. And the couch will be hanging on the wall.
We barely survived.
Why did my computer make noise in the middle of the podcast? It's quite rude.
Oh, I don't know.
Well, I think that's a good place to wrap it up. Follow us on Twitter at Hinterlands Feed. We've got Jazz on YouTube. We've got Jazz on Stitcher, I believe now. We got Jazz on Apple Podcasts.
We have a single, can't quite call it article, that got published to Podbean because we don't have a site right now, but we will.
Go to Podbean, read the article. It's all about me, so it's really good. Because I'm awesome and stuff.
It's written by me.
She flattered me. It's very nice. It made me very emotional.
It was a Father's Day message.
Made me very emotional.
Okay.
What else should I say about... Oh, yeah, we're thinking of separating the podcast, but for now we're going to stick with this format because we're busy. It's going to be a while.
Yeah.
So, maybe look for Video Gaming ADD episode 1. Or
we can't rename them.
I might be able to go back and rename all the episodes. We'll see. But it's our video game podcast. Look for that. But we're not going to get too deep into what we're doing there because this is Oneshot, episode 10, and it's political and cultural, not video games. People who listen to this don't care about video games. Unless they're just like us, and then they will.
No, this is all about how I hate California. I want to secede from the Union. Go Alaska.
Well, don't take too much offense, Californian.
I hate everyone.
She hates everyone equally. There you go. All right, thanks, and goodbye.
Goodbye.